Hey everybody, Psychosaurus is here, and welcome back to Age of Empires Online. And today, well, we got patch notes, and it's been, I dare to say, pretty huge, because it brought another advisor rework. And I'll be honest, I took a look at it and I was like, man, what is this? Like, goddamn, like I all I knew it was coming, but at the same time, I was not hoping for much. I was like expecting something like this, but to this level, oh my god. Anyway, we have the patch notes first. So let's get through those first, and then we get to the advisor rework. So, changelog. Okay, advisor rework number 5. I don't know if it's number 5, whatever. It's advisor rework number 5. Anyway, we have balance changes. Egyptian War Elephant, movement speed reduced to 8 from 9. This is actually part of the advisor rework. We'll get to that. So don't worry about it now. Elephant Archer, projectile track rating increased to 16 from 15. Snare increased to 0.75 from 1.0. Max spread reduced to 1.25 from 2.0. Spread factor reduced to 0.02 from 0.04, meaning they are far more accurate now. Affects both Egyptian and Indian elephant archers. So basically, if I'm getting this correctly, overall, again, track rating should allow to hit the moving targets a little bit better. Now the elephant archers also have snare. Now this one I'm a little bit confused about, because if they have snare, that means that the first arrow should always miss the target, because now this one actually could be questioned, because I'm not really sure whether it actually could happen, because I made a video about the snare. The snare is being applied when the projectile is launched, not when it hits the target. That way, when you have units with splash damage, like for example elephant archers, it will snare the enemy units as the arrow is being fired, not when the arrow lands. And because of this, obviously the snare does not work in a splash damage. So I wonder, does it mean the first shot always misses, which is kind of a waste of damage already? But at the same time, hey, if the following arrows will just hit, that's fine. But like track rating, whatever, I don't care about it anymore, because like 15 is already so huge. Like in legendary quests or any quest, have you seen any unit moving more than like 15? Like, I don't know about anything. Like it could be like some very specific units, but how many of them have you fought with your elephant archers? So I don't know about that. But yeah, the maximum spread reduced. This is actually something I've been always critical about the Egyptian elephant archers, because they have only the splash radius of 1. So when they were like firing the arrows, they kept missing a lot of damage, and I seriously hated them because of that. But at the same time, this allowed them to do a lot of area damage, when you had like a lot of units clumped up, like grouped up together. The elephant archers would do actually nice splash damage because of that, but it would be like more spread across all of them. This should mean they should be hitting the main target more accurately, but at the same time should be less area damage. So I wonder how this will work out in the end. But still, I don't like Egyptian elephant archers because of that one splash damage area, But the Indians, they start with 1, but at the same time they get like the larger splash damage area through the champion. Okay, that way they become much more useful unit, like goddamn. But anyway, I wonder how this will affect the elephant archers overall. We'll see. Anyway, Persian Cataphracts DPS increased to 25 from 20. I'll be honest, like buff for Persian Cataphracts, okay, But at the same time, there is going to be some change for them in the advisor rework, so maybe I'll comment it later, because I'm not really sure whether I like it or not, you know, like, but I might get to it. Roman Decurion DPS increased to 28 from 24. Okay, like, I don't really care about Decurions, you know, they are still like mainly like damage soakers, you know, like the damage sponges. They are not the main damage dealers, and in PvE, like, come on, you don't really use the Decurion for their DPS output. You use them for the bonus damage protection, and so they can soak a lot of damage. Otherwise, yeah, Roman Decurion. This is just a nice bonus, so I'm not against it completely. Seems okay with me, you know. Okay, Babylonian Royal Guard. Hit points increased to 340 from 320. Now has baseline pierce armor increased to 0.20. I'll be honest, I'm not against this, you know, like, one way I could be critical, because, like, yeah, Royal Guards are so expensive, so, like, and they also get a lot of damage output, so, but at the same time, when you get them, they are not that strong, you know, you need a champion upgrade to get that huge damage output. So with this, actually, I'm personally glad this happened, because goddamn, their cost is so huge, and they, like, 320 health is pretty okay, but at the same time, you know, I could look at some other units and see, like, oh my god, they get the same amount of HP, but they cost like 30-40% less, you know. So for me, this buff is very nice, and the extra pierce armor, I'm not against it, you know. I think this is pretty fine. I kind of like it. I think they needed something like this for their survivability. The damage output is great, but the survivability, you know, like, either you need to make them much cheaper through advisors and gear, or you need to make them super tanky so they can actually soak some extra damage, which obviously is kind of hard. Not impossible, but still, like, when you get just 1000 health on 110 units of resources, expensive unit, like, yeah. So from my point of view, this is okay buff. Like, I'm not against it. I think this is just fine, and I think I can just appreciate it, because goddamn, I would rather not go just pure discount on Royal Guard sometimes, and rather have something else as well. But yeah, it's nice, this one. Okay, quest updates, event archive, and alliance quest rewards reverted to their non-event values. Obviously, we are after the event. Then we have some champion mode changes. I'm gonna skip these. I don't think there's anything important. Greeks temples are cheaper. Persians immortal camps cost less. 25 wood less. Cretan bowman, more range, more DPS, lower cost. Legionary, more snare. Legionary champion, splash damage armor on top of what it already does. Cost increased to 450 gold. The Decurion has 0.25 baseline snare resistance. Cost reduced. Okay. The Decurion champion grants 40% bonus damage protection and snare resistance instead of 35. Okay. Gallic Horseman Champion, cost reduced to 1000 gold, now also grants 50% snare, train time reduced to 19 from 19.5 seconds. Scorpio cost reduced to 120-50 from 120-60, now has 0.3 melee infantry armor, movement speed increased to 5.5. Scorpio Champion now grants plus 40% bonus versus infantry from plus 20%. Auxilia Camp, cost reduced to 150 from 175. Sacramentum Auxilia Camp H2 factory tech cost reduced to 25, 25, 25 from 50, 50, 25. Food wood gold, of course. Milarium cost reduced to 25 from 50 wood, build time reduced to 10 from 20. Templum cost reduced to 100 from 125. Yeah, so basically some small changes, although for the Romans quite big, I dare to say, but it's champion mode. We don't care about it right now, like, or at least now I wouldn't too worry about it. UI updates adjusted the advisor details panel in the advisor hall UI to allow more text to be displayed. Bug fixes fixed an issue where the Seedmaster Agape advisor had incorrect scaling in its non-epic rarity levels. Fixed an issue where the bolster Roman engineer building speed tag incorrectly granted 30% building construction speed instead of the intended 35%, champion mode only. So only champion mode. Fixed an issue where the allied player did not have the correct colors in the Eritrea quest. This is because there was the AI which basically had the same color as the co-op partners, so that could have become confusing at some point. So yeah, that should fix that. And fix an issue where the enemy AI did not function properly in the non-repeatable version of the Tails quest. Don't know about that. I never saw that. Other updates added several missing translations from other languages. So this is it, basically. All you need to remember are basically these balance changes, because they are gonna be important part of the advisor rework. Otherwise, yeah, it's just champion mode and some bug fixes. Anyway, let's get to the advisor rework. So, advisor reworks and changes, number 5, okay? So let's read this. Hey there, everyone. The newest changes and adjustments to advisors are now available. Below you will find the details for each of the changes. Dedicated graphics for each of the changed advisors will be added to this blog as soon as possible. Important to know that the following balance changes have also gone live with these changes. Yes, okay. Balance changes. This is what we've been gone through, so if I need to just revisit them, hey, here they are. Note that these stats are for the epic or legendary rarity of the advisors. Lower rarities have the standard scaling formulas applied to them. These changes affecting all existing and future instances of these advisors. Man, what is this sentence? These changes affecting all existing and future instances of these advisors. What is this? That's not even a sentence. Like, whatever. Okay, and here we have them separated into sieves, so we could go. But I'm just gonna start from the bottom, which is going to be the global advisors, because this means, hey, every single sieve can use these advisors, you know. Okay, Prince Nial Muikmeron. Old storehouses and ox carts cost 75% less, build train in 50% less time, and research upgrades 75% faster. New storehouses and ox carts cost 75% less, build train in 75% less time, and research upgrades in 75% less time. So the main difference here is the build time, which means, hey, if you were using Muikmeron and we're building the storehouses or trading ox carts, now it will take you 50% less time than before, you know. Or if you want, it will just take 1/4 of the time as of the same time as without the Muikmeron. So yeah, faster production of the storehouses and ox carts. And also notice the change of the wording. Before it was the upgrades research 75% faster, which meant faster research rate, while here it is research upgrades in 75% less time. This means the research time is actually being reduced. That means this is actually buff to the effect. Okay, now during the last advisor rework, I remember saying that the research upgrades 75% faster, the last buff that happened to Muikmeron, I was calling it, this would not change anything. Nobody is going to pick Muikmeron because this change is practically doing nothing. Like, it's such a small difference that you will barely notice anything like happening at all. And in this case, okay, we buff the faster construction, which again, like, okay, let's just overstart this advisor. let's just pump more numbers into him and see what happens. And I'm telling you, there's nothing going to happen again, because like, okay, you build faster, but are you really going to notice it that much? Because remember, you can put the goddamn work tools on villagers, and so you build buildings faster in general, which includes storehouses, of course. And before, like, I think with the tools it would take you like, let's say, around 20 seconds. So with Alt Muikmeron it would be 10 seconds. Now it's 5 seconds. 5 seconds difference. Does it really even matter at this point? Like, sure, like 5 seconds. Okay, I can save 5 seconds of work time for my villager. Which, how many storehouses do you build throughout the whole quest? How many? I bet it would be like 10 storehouses. And the moment you build more, usually you don't really care about the faster construction speed, you know? So I'm gonna say this change is pointless and does not really help much with Muikmeron, when before it was really good, still nobody was using. What makes you think now everyone's gonna start using Muikmeron? Or like even few players start using him? Nobody's gonna do that. There's no point. There's no value in there. Why would I do that when I can pick any other H1 advisor to get him better? And again, the research time, sure, it's nice, but you build multiple storehouses with Muikmeron, so you already have a lot of them, and so you can research multiple tags at the same time. And if I consider like just the one tag being researched faster, okay, so that means I get what, like 15% extra gather speed, which you need to also include the fact that the villager has to run and drop off the resources, so the efficiency is actually slightly lower in comparison. And now obviously the villagers will run more often, so yes, it's not like completely full 15%, it's not there, and you get it only for the limited amount of time, you know. And every tag takes 30 seconds. Okay, 75%. What is 1/4? That's 7.5 seconds, right? Okay, so I saved 22.5 seconds over work time. So I'm getting again like 2 extra resources per villager gathering. Okay. Does anybody really care about that? Like, if I have 30 villagers on wood, and I get like what, 2-3 extra units per villager, great. I got 90 pieces of wood. Like, what kind of tech is this? And like, you can even consider it like H4, you know. That's the point where when I get that last upgrade, you know. What value is that? That's no value. And all the storehouses that I've built, I saved the resources. That's so little, you know, when you compare it to the other advisors. For example, I can still go Irene and still have the storehouse tax made much cheaper and save a lot more resources. And not only that, because I can afford the tax a lot sooner, I can just click, start researching it. I don't have to wait for the resources, and I can do as many tags as I want to research at the time, and I get them all. But here, I would still need a lot of resources. Like, can you imagine, like, you start H3 and you suddenly have to pay for the tier 2 tags? You need to get the tier 1, get the tier 2. Yeah, Muikmeron is not gonna help you with that. It can help you in H1, I can agree with that, okay? But in H1, usually you have limited resources. I would still prefer Agathon, so I can afford the villager production, you know? While the storehouse production, like, I can always put gear on the storehouses. I can make them cheaper through gear. I can make them cheaper or build faster through gear. I can get advisors. I can even use milestones, you know? You have the 8% faster construction from the Egyptians. You can get 20% discount from Romans. or just 8% from the Romans, whatever, whichever you prefer more. And it's just pointless at this moment. So yeah, if you ask me, hey, nice buffs, but still, nobody's gonna use Muikmenon because he does not give you the value here. You need to change him completely. This is just wrong, and I'll be honest, I am not even sure how I would change Muikmenon, like, goddamn. But this is like, these changes, nice try, but nothing's gonna change. It's pointless at this moment. You just overbuffed him. What am I gonna say about it? Anyway, King Minos. Alt. Infantry units are 50% more resistant to snare and are able to snare enemy units on attack, slowing them by 35%. New Spearmen have 25% more health and move 10% faster. Now, if I remember, Minos is still H2. So, yes. This is your Bronze Age advisor for Spearmen only quests right now. I dare to say. And at the same time, I'm like, man, I don't want this. I don't want this. I would rather prefer, you know, having like extra economy from H2. Like, for example, Todd, which again helps with a lot of Spearmen units. Like, probably the worst one would be like the Babylonians because those cost mainly gold. But still, hey, I can produce villagers. I can produce caravans for lower cost and even slightly faster, which is definitely much more useful than this. Like, even then I'm like, do I really want this? I don't know. I don't think I want to, you know. At this moment, you know, like I was thinking, you know, like how I would change some advisors, and some ideas came to me. And in my opinion, because King Minos is an advisor you get from skirmish and he is focused on siege, so I was thinking maybe something around the siege, you know. Usually siege do like splash damage, you know, crush damage. And so I was thinking, how about we just make him into like advisor that grants infantry units like 30% splash damage resistance, and just move him H3, you know, so you have something to help your infantry units survive a little bit better. And it does not have to be, you know, like if I play as Greeks, it's not only for hoplites, it's for hippospis as well. And it should be working just fine, you know, especially when you're fighting like, I don't know, Egyptians, you know. I feel like that would be a lot nicer option. And I was also thinking like maybe, you know, make him like buffed for some extra buff for Spearman, and since he has only one rarity, you know, the epic one, I was thinking, how about we just give Spearman extra attack range, you know, that was, so you would have the splash damage armor, you would have extra range for Spearman, and this would actually also work really nicely together, because usually when you have units with increased attack range fighting enemy melee units, they usually group up very nicely, so they are vulnerable to splash damage. And that way, I feel like it would be interesting to see that like this, you know, like put this together. And it would be just Spearman with the increased range. So this would be something nice for like Spearman only quest. And also having the splash damage armor would help you in some scenarios. So it would be a nice option, you know. But like this, just give Spearman a lot of health, some movement speed, and make it H2. Man, I don't know about this, you know. I just feel like, why? Like 25% more health, why? And I have to think like, what other advisors are there? You know, you have like the Heraclitus, you know, for cheaper, faster production of spear infantry units in general. And then you have like, you know, Hyginus with 3 HP per second for all infantry units, and I'm like, okay, if I want Spearman only quests, why would I pick Hyginus now, you know? Like, I wouldn't pick Hyginus, but still. This just seems silly to me, you know? Okay, Engineer Cyric, old buildings. Okay, I'm not gonna read this, there is one change. So, the new effect, fortresses are available in the Bronze Age. Okay, I'll be honest, I just don't see a reason why I would pick Cyric. Like, okay, I can build fortress in H2, But why would I want that? Why would I do that, you know? Like, what's the point of that? Fortresses are super expensive. They take a long while to build, and still they are not that strong as the towers, you know? I would rather still build 3 towers than 1 fortress. And it would be much better for me, you know? Like, there is no reason for me to have fortress in H3. I don't have advisor units in H2. Most of the units you train at the fortress start either H3 or H4. So again, them being available in H2 means nothing to me. It's just big expensive structure in Bronze Age that just does not give me any extra value, you know? Like, I don't see how this change is even supposed to help you. I would just rather build the towers, you know? Like, having multiple towers seems more reasonable. Okay, one advantage, fortresses have huge range. I don't know what you need it for, but it's possible to use them for their range. But what's the point of that, you know? I just don't see the value in this. Like sure, the range is there, but that's not good enough reason for me to pick this, you know? This seems pointless again. Anyway, General Heron. So the new effect is basically the values. So cavalry units see 75% farther and are 75% more resistant to snare. The old one was 50%, 50%. So Heron has been like this one advisor that exists, but nobody really wants to use, you know, because there is no real value in him, you know, like snare resistance. Okay, snare resistance exists. But let's be honest, how many of you does actually care about it? I don't really care, because sure, I can like reduce the snare of enemy spearmen on my, like, I don't know, elephants. But still, like, okay, they snare like what? 1, 2, 3 elephants when I have like another 15 there? That just seems pointless to me. And I would rather have, you know, like cheaper elephants so I can like save some population on economy and turn it into more elephants, you know? And that way, hey, if I have more elephants, I don't care if they get snared. And line of sight, you know, I don't know about you, but usually I don't care about the line of sight enough. But yeah, that was just elephants, you know? Like, they are not only elephants, there are also other units. And like, so what, you know? Like, I don't really care. Usually you learn when you learn the quest, you know the locations, and at the moment it's like, who cares, you know? You don't care about the line of sight because you know where everything is. And you just build watch posts anyways, so who cares? To me, this seems kind of pointless. Someone might appreciate the extra snare resistance, but at the same time, remember this works just like armor, so it's not that huge. And I just find it like, okay, it exists, but still, I don't see a reason to pick him, you know? Again, like, it seems pointless to me to buff him like this. Anyway, moving on. Blacksmith Cosmos. Old. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. The new one. Ranged units move 20% faster. This is new one. And are able to snare enemy units on attack, slowing them by 20%. This is the old effect as well. So, on top of the old effect, you get the 20% movement speed. And I'm like... There's like only one single unit that I would consider this on, and it's like Gastra Feathers, because of the movement speed. Like, make Gastras move faster. And the snare obviously helps to keep the enemy units away from my ranged units, but a lot of the ranged units just kill the enemy units from the range, because once you have the death ball, they just one-shot everything. So in this case, like, okay, I can put this on Gastras, but at the same time, why should I care when I kill the enemy units, you know? I mean, at the same time, like, I don't know why here. Like, why are we putting this here, you know? I don't know. Why do we need 20%? Like, even 20%, remember, we have, like, Cassivalanos, where one is 10% for cavalry units, the other one is 15% for infantry units, and here we go, ranged units 20%, where ranged units most likely can appreciate the movement speed because they can keep the distance. And with the snare, dude, it's even more like advantage for them. Just why so much on this guy? Like, if it was just 10%, I wouldn't say a thing, but like 20%, so again, the highest value of like the 3 basic unit types, and I mean the military ones, of course. It's just silly to me, you know. Like, why would ranged units even need this? Like, they get a snare, they already move faster because of the snare. At least there would be a weakness of enemy units having snare resistance so they can catch up and ignore this. But no, you just need to add extra movement speed. So the enemy units never catch up. Great. That's so smart, dude. That's so smart. Jesus. Anyway, moving on. General battleship whip. Old. All ships have 25% more health. New. All ships are 30% more resistant to crush and bonus damage. Okay, I keep thinking, like, number one, why in the first place we changed battleship whip? I seriously have no idea why. Like, I don't see why, you know, like, why change battleship whip? Battleship whip was completely fine. And two, why are you like making ships so much better against fire ships, you know, like, or not only fire ships, like fire ships, ram ships, and NRS, and also including like the siege ships, so ballista triremes, catapult triremes. Like, why against those, you know? And then of course there's the bonus damage protection as well, which again, when you're playing the legendary quest, works against every elite unit. So again, fire ships naturally have bonus against ships. Same goes for the ram ships, same goes for the NRAs. So you basically made battleship whip a lot better against these units that are supposed to be, you know, like the main anti-naval force, you know. So again, ships have a weakness. We are removing the weakness? Is that what we are trying to do? A unit has a weakness, now it does not have to? Like, is this seriously what we are trying to do? Again, Cosmos is basically the same thing. The weakness would be fast units that are resistant to snare. Now let's remove it because we grant movement speed for ranged units? Seriously? What is this nonsense, you know? I don't know, this seems just unreasonable to me. Battleship was alright the way he was, you know? He was completely fine. Why the change? That's what I don't understand. There was zero reason for this. Anyway, Siege Tactician Titus. Okay, so basically new values, okay? So battering rams, siege towers, rams, and forebuilders have 35% more health, move 35% faster, before it was 20% for both, and deal 75% bonus damage against buildings. Why? You know, like, I was happy Titus became a thing, you know, like Titus for battering rams. I was happy. But then you also made, what's his name? Ligeia. You buffed Ligeia, so siege units are even more cheaper. And at that moment I was like, okay, why would I go Titus when I can go Ligeia, who makes siege units cheaper, so I can use it with not only battering rams, but also like ballistas, palintrons, and so on. So now you have to buff Titus. So here we go, there's the buff. Remember, Ligeia also grants the movement speed instead of the training time that was there before. So that was changed. And now, hey, here we go, buff the movement speed even more. And now you also give them 75% bonus against buildings? Why? Literally, why them? And they do more than enough damage to buildings. Why do they need 75% more damage against buildings? I don't see a reason. They are already good against buildings. They don't need extra damage against buildings. This just seems, again, like overstating. Like, let's just pump a lot of numbers into one single advisor. This could have been like, this could have been like completely separate advisor. You could have just made someone like buff battering rams, do more damage against buildings. And I wouldn't say a thing. That could be just fine, You could do that with some battering rams. That could be just completely fine. But no, you put it all together. And it seems so stupid. And remember, this is with the Babylonian siege towers. And we'll get to that advisor. Because that one got buffed as well. So I'll talk about it later. But yeah, remember the Babylonian siege towers, because that's going to be very important as well. But yeah, this, again, like overstating, everything. Just pump the numbers there. Everything needs a lot of numbers, because why not? Jesus. King Agamemnon. New effect, gain 5% chance to deal a critical strike, okay? All military units get extra 5% critical hit chance. Well, still, why would I pick Agamemnon, like, there is one reason now. When I go, like, infantry units, the only option for me is to pick Theocles. I don't want Theocles. I want to do more damage. Yes, I pick Agamemnon. Thank you very much. That's all I need to say. Because goddamn, you again made Theocles redundant with this. Or I should say, even more redundant. Because with Agamemnon, now you have the option to go with other units as well. Not only infantry units. So thank you very much. And Theocles is not here, as you can see. So yeah, that's all about the global ones. And you can see, like, I'm angry, and I just was thinking about it, like, okay, why? Just why, And now we're getting to the Civ specific ones, and this is going to be interesting as well. But anyway, Greeks, courageous colonel Lycurgus. Okay, so the new effect, I'm gonna read the new effects. Spearmen, Hippaspists, and Hoplites are 30% more resistant to melee infantry, pierce, and splash damage, while before it was 30% melee cavalry and splash damage without the Hippaspists, Okay. I'll be honest. I see the melee infantry armor here being completely pointless, because as Greeks, you can always go Toxotes, which are really good units against infantry. And if you're finding that Toxotes can't kill, then most likely Hippaspist will, So I see zero reason to put the melee infantry armor here. And for late game, you can always go Gastraphedes. You can always go Ballistas. And both of these can obliterate enemy infantry units. And if those cannot, then usually Hippaspist can, again. So, from my point of view, the infantry armor is pointless. The pierce armor, and I'll be honest, I was reading this and I feel like this was actually updated because Hippaspist was not there, from what I remember, and the pierce armor was not there. But okay, changing it from cavalry to pierce armor, splash damage armor, again, like before I would say this advisor was like super anti-elephant advisor focus, So you would use like spearmen, hoplites against Egyptian elephants, Indian elephants, whatever. And they would do just fine job. So now it's against pierce and splash damage. I'm ignoring the infantry armor because that's like, I don't really care about that, Because usually with these, you pick some backline, such as Gastras or Ballistas, to kill the infantry units a lot faster, They can do the job just fine. But like the pierce armor, okay, you know what? I'm gonna say, if it was just the melee cavalry to pierce, I would say okay, it's just a small difference. Fine, these units I don't know why Hypaspists need to be included, but okay. I'll be just fine with this, you know? Like, if it was just the 30% pierce armor, splash damage armor, completely fine, you know? But the melee infantry armor, it just seems overkill. And from my perspective, when I saw only the infantry armor, I was like, this seems just pointless change, you know? But if the pierce armor is there as well, I feel like this is fine. I can live with that. But yeah, the old one, I was like, ugh. Anyway, moving on. Professor Socrates. So the new effect, all upgrades cost 30% less instead of 28%, and research 30% faster instead of 25% faster. I'll be honest, I don't understand. Why are we buffing Socrates? Why? Why in the first place? Do you realize how good the 20% was? Do you realize how good the 20% was? Remember, that's all the armory tax, that's all age ups, academy tax, champion upgrades, the military production tax, you know, like the barracks training times, archery range, line of sight tax. Those kind of tax are being affected. All economy upgrades. And if you would put it together, you would see that's a lot of resources saved. And I'm not joking, a lot of, like, you couldn't even compare it, like, you could be like, oh my god, Collector saves you so much. Well, Socrates would be even better than that. And also, you get them done faster, so Socrates was ideal for that. And now we are buffing the discount by 50%, so now you're saving another 50% more resources. Like, that's so insane to me, you know, like, goddamn, Socrates, why? Why? Like, why? What's the reason to buff him? I don't know. Again, like, he was good before. He was just good. Why are we buffing him again? That just seems so pointless. It's just like, make him OP now. Why not? Why? This seems pointless. He was already good the way he was before. Now you just make him even more stronger. It's just stupid to me, you know. King Tisamenos. Okay, so the old one was Hypaspists are 30% more resistant to pierce damage and have 30% more health, which I was always critical towards because goddamn, that's just so much survivability for Hypaspists. So the new one, guard towers ignore 50% of the enemy's armor and can be upgraded an additional time. And remember, this is H3 advisor. So this is quite similar to Bathanatos for the Celts, but I would say this is actually better than Bathanatos. And you might be like, oh my god, but Bathanatos gives you like 2 upgrades for your towers and 1 for the walls. Now hear me out, because Bathanatos grants extra 15% attack rate, which for towers I find it kind of redundant because they already attack quite fast. So I would rather see more damage output than faster attacks, you know. And so in this case, when you get 15% ignore armor, that just seems so valuable, especially against units that have that high pierce armor. Although, yes, you could probably put the gear on the towers. Anyway, the piercing throws gear on them and just get like 30%. Now here, you can go like, I think I saw like 50% ignore armor on guard towers, which I was like, oh my god, it's just so much, you know. And don't forget, I was talking about this in my armory text video, and I seriously don't like, these high values of ignore armor, because again, as I was saying, when you are researching the armory text, they cost so many resources, and now here goes the ignore armor, which basically makes a lot of the resources like wasted, at that moment. And that's what I don't like to see. In case of towers, I would be kind of okay, because towers, you need to build them, they take a while, and they need to stay in one location. Plus, because of the size, you can have only limited number of towers in the one area. So for towers, it's not that terrible, but at the same time, I would rather not see these high values again. And this obviously makes them so much better against siege units. So battering rams, yes, they will be taking a lot of damage from towers now. Plus, you can get the extra upgrade, so that means 30% more health and HP. Sorry, health and damage. That's what I meant to say. And that way, you know, like you get the 15% ignore armor and 30% more damage. That's a lot of extra damage, you know. Especially for the Greeks, that those have, you know, the damage for buildings milestone. They have the murder hole stack for towers. Like those Greek towers will just do so much damage. In fact, I dare to say you could probably switch the piercing frost walls for the walls of Kronos instead, because you get already so much ignore armor through this advisor that you might change it back there, you know. It's possible, you know, you have the option now with this. But, you know, one thing I don't like about these advisors, Batanatos and Tisamenos, the problem I have with these two advisors is the upgrade. First of all, you need to pay for it. Okay. You don't get the effect right away. But the thing is, you need to reach the golden age to get access to the tech. So these advisors do not really get full value until age 4. And so I would prefer seeing these advisors in age 4 instead of age 3. Especially Batanatos. I can imagine Batanatos moving to age 4, switching with Vercingetorix. That would be completely possible, and I feel like it would make more sense, you know. In this case, it would be a little bit harder, because what do I change it with? Because a lot of the Greek-specific advisors in H4 are just affecting H4 units, so this one would be harder. Much more difficult to do. But yeah, it's just... Anyway, what I don't like here is that high ignore armor, because still, like, 15% is a lot. And the fact that you need to be H4 to get the extra upgrade. But other than that, I guess it's not the worst, you know, because still, towers, limited number, because you can place them here. And if you want to push forward, you still need to build more towers, so it's not the fastest. But still, you know, like, killing the units with this ignore armor, that's just going to be a lot easier. And especially buildings. Remember, this is like 60% extra damage to buildings. And Greeks have the tech to deal more damage to buildings as well. So, goddamn. You're doing just so much damage to buildings with towers now. That's even crazier. But they already had the ignore armor from the gear. So, it's not that huge with the gear. But still. You know, when you get 50% and suddenly you do like 200% extra damage to buildings. Oof. That's just crazy. Okay, next one, Leonidas, and this one, I'll be honest, was this buffed? I feel like this was buffed. Whatever, this is the value we see here. So the old hoplites regenerate 2 health per second and have 20% more health. New hoplites have 20% more health, gain a 20% chance to deal a critical strike, and gain +2 melee attack range. Additional note, renamed to King Leonidas. Okay, remember how I was critical towards, you know, Gada warriors being super strong? With, you know, like, having the extra range, extra HP, and then also, like, you know, the ignore armor. Well, hoplites are going to be, like, Gada warriors number 2, you know? Now, let me explain why. Because for hoplites, if you have the piercing frost light spear, you can put it there. You get the 30% ignore armor there. So you have the ignore armor there, right there. Then you get the 20% health here. You get 20% critical chance. So on average 20% more damage. And then you also get the melee attack range. Now, remember, hoplites also have the higher bonus against cavalry. They don't have it like, you know, the Garas with 1.5 times. They have actually like, what is it, like 2.25 after champion upgrade against cavalry. So yeah, hoplites are going to be deadly against cavalry units, which this is similar to the phalanx situation. And not only that, they will work against infantry units, which against infantry units, you know, like usually I would use hoplites with like ballistas. And since Leonidas is H3 advisor, I would prefer something in H4 to help me destroy buildings. So ballistas, palintorons, castras, but most likely ballistas, you know. And even then, like, okay, I lose Pamphilos, but still I get the 20% here from the crit chance, and then I also get the attack range. So I can have more hoplites attacking. So even without the Pamphilos, hoplites just get so much extra damage to buildings as well, which is so insane to me. And again, why are we putting this all together into one single advisor? So many stats into one single advisor. And by the way, I never considered hoplites being weak. They were really good frontline units. I just preferred Hippospis for their, you know, lower cost and higher speed. But hoplites were definitely better tanks because good health, really good pierce armor. And then they also dealt better with cavalry units than Hippospis, of course. Which would be more ideal than Hippospis because, like, okay, most of the infantry units you just kill with ballistas. Ranged units you kill with ballistas. But cavalry units, yes, that will be the problem. But yeah, now, like, you get this. Man, it's, again, like, overstunning a single unit. If we change this to just the +2 melee attack range, I will be okay. Fine. I don't have a problem with that. But when you get the 20% crit chance here as well, this is just silly. It just looks silly. But anyway, moving on. Ptolemais. And this one is just, I'm gonna say this one is like one of the stupidest changes, in my opinion. Just so you know, it's basically a buff. So, Gastraphetes ignore 15% of the enemy's armor instead of 8%. Gain a 15% chance to deal a critical strike. And are 100% more resistant to splash damage. Which is the same as before. So basically, more ignore armor. Not only that, you already have the piercing frost. Now you give me even more. For free. Through advisor. And 15% crit chance. Since when did Gastraphetes needed so much buff? Since when? I've been using Gastraphetes completely fine. And I could even do like Invasion of Rome with Gastras only. And you're still going to buff them? You're still going to buff them? Why? Like, I get this. Like, the main reason Ptolemy is getting a change is because the Toxotes part is being removed, so Alexander is only the Toxotes advisor. But still, why did we need to buff Gastraphetes as well? There was zero reason for that. Zero reason. And just so you know, I was the one who suggested Ptolemais to actually grant Ignore Armor, and I was suggesting 10%. And you know, PF2K was the one who decided for 8%. And when I asked him why, it was just he was worried that it might be too much. And now here we go, 15% and 15% crit chance. What happened, PF? Like, I see these advisors, the other advisors, getting stupid values. You're telling me Finolfer couldn't have, like, you know, 30% health, 30% bonus damage against buildings? You needed to nerf him, but here you are not worried? Here you are not worried? Are you serious? And I need to remind you, legendary quests have become practically easier. And basically that a lot of the recent quests have been very easy, you know, and now we are getting these advisors super buffed, so the quests are even easier. And you're planning to update the elite quest rewards to grant more. And I'm gonna ask you again, why would I play elite quests when I can just go and play the legendary quest that will give me much better rewards? What's the point of buffing it when I can just go and beat the legendary quest? With these advisors, oh my god, it's going to be easy because you need one Solon for your Greeks. You need one Ptolemais for your Greeks. You need one Leonidas for your Greeks. Goddamn. Yeah, don't even bother. Don't even bother. It's pointless. Everyone's just going to play legendary quest anyway. Because they can do it with these. It's just stupid, you know, like the only reason to play elite quest would be just for extra coin, which a lot of legendary quests still grant good amount of coins, like for example Marian. But no, we're just going to buff the advisors, making the quest super easy already. No, we need to go further. We need to make the quest, we need to make it even easier. Let's just over buff the advisors. Goddamn. It's so tiring, you know. I've been complaining. You heard me complaining, like that I don't enjoy the game. It's been hard for me to play the game because I don't see any challenge in the game right now. I don't see anything that would like seriously. I would be like, okay, this is a fun challenge. I want to play this. I want to enjoy this. No, we are just going to make it even easier. I don't know, guys. I don't know about you, but I might just quit. You know, because I'm so tired of this. There's no fun for me. What is supposed to be fun about this? Like double ignore armor for Gastroferes and 15% crit chance. What's so fun about it? Let's just overbuff a unit. Let's just do that. Like, why not? It just... Yeah, I saw those changes and I was like, man, I don't know what to say. Like, I feel like whoever is making these decisions does not understand balance at all. Like, he's just putting their random numbers just to make something super stronger than it needs to be. And remember, these are Gastraferes, Hoplites. These did not need these buffs. And we are only at Greeks, you know. We'll get there. Okay, Seleucus. Ballistas deal 30% more damage. That was the old one. New one. Ballista triremes attack 25% faster and farther and can see 35% farther. Let me ask you, how many of you wanted Palinterons of water? Because now you can have those. Now you can have those. It's terrible, come on. It's terrible. Like, why not? Let's go Palinterons. We needed Timo for the water, you know? Timo for the water, you know, you pick Ammon, you pick Timo for water, which is Seleucus now. Yes, Ballista triremes, attack from the great distance. Who needs this? You need to kill the navy to get there and start bombarding, because it still takes quite a while to destroy unless you have like a lot of the Ballista triremes. But you need to fight through the navy. You're not gonna pick this because Tryphon exists. Pick Tryphon, kill the navy faster with your fire ships, and then you can easily get your Ballista triremes there and attack the enemy base without the problem. This is pointless. Again. Riding Instructor Solon. Old Hippicans gain a 20% chance to deal a critical strike. New Hippicans have 20% more health, gain a 20% chance to deal a critical strike, and deal 10% more damage when dealing a critical strike. Remember how I did the video with Hippicans using Gajendraja's sword? Using Solon? Now it's better. Now it's basically better. That's all you need to know. That's all you need to know. And the main reason is the next change, okay? Aristocrat Apollonius. He was actually applying his buffs to Hippicans as well. Now, they decided to split Solon and Apollonius. So Solon is mainly for Hippicans. Apollonius is for Prodromos and Sarysophoroi. Now, that's the main reason. And I'm just gonna say it, I don't like this change. I don't like this change because Solon was one option where I would go critical hit Hippicans, while Apollonius would be something more of a sustain Hippicans that can last a little bit longer, you know? I like these two options. Now I have only one single option for Hippicans. Because who cares about anything else? This is just too good. Again, like, if I wanted Agamemnon with Hippicans, what's the point? What's the point? The only reason to do that is I don't have Solon. Otherwise, I'll always pick Solon because he's so much better. He's so much better. Anyway, Aristocrat Apollonius, and this one I'm going to complain a little bit longer as well. Cavalry units have 15% more health, attack 15% faster, and are 20% more resistant to pierce damage. Sarysophore deal 100% more damage and can attack 100% farther. New Prodromos and Sarysophore have 30% more health, attack 30% faster, and are 30% more resistant to pierce damage. Sarysophore deal 100% more damage and can attack 100% farther. So the main changes here. So it's only Prodromos and Sarysophoroi now. The buffs have been increased to 30%, health, attack rate, and pierce armor. And the Sarysophoroi buff is still the same. There's actually more to this, but okay. I don't mind that the Prodromos got a little bit more buff because I always found them quite squishy. So for this, okay, Prodromos got some buff. I'm not against it, you know, like if Prodromos gets the buff. The fact that Sarysophore got another buff with already the 100% extra damage and attack range. I'll be honest, you could actually beat some 5-star quests with Sarysophore only. Especially, you know, the Turanian Trouble, where you go against Persians. Because what are Persians going to do against Sarysophore? What are they going to do? Whatever they throw at you, you can just deal with it with your Sarysophore. You can do it, you know, like, you see Spearman, who cares? Sarysophore deal pierce damage. You see Asabaras, whatever. It's basically equal, you know. You see Sparabaras, okay, Sparabaras can be annoying because they have high pierce armor, but they won't kill your Sarysophoroi. Cataphracts, whatever, same as with the Asabaras. And that's basically all you see there, you know. Then it's just the siege units. So war wagons, who cares? Sarysophoroi have high pierce armor. Now you're getting 30% more. And then it's Polythrons, which you just need to get close enough so they don't attack you and destroy them. And that's it. That's it. Like, goddamn, you can do Sarysophoroi. I'll be honest, there is a way to counter Sarysophoroi, but the AI is just not smart enough, you know. So if you ask me, Sarysophoroi were seriously strong before, now we are even stronger. And now I want to point out another thing, because this change actually nerfed Greek priests. And you might be asking, how? Why? What? What are you talking about? Because Apollonius, the old one, was affecting cavalry units. Not Hippicans, Sarysophore, and Prodromos. Cavalry units. Which means, if you converted, for example, Egyptian elephant, the war elephant, that unit would get these buffs. You will get the attack rate, you'll get the pierce armor. And now it's gone. And you know what? I hate this. I hate this because how many civs do actually have, you know, like their dedicated advisor that would be affecting a specific unit type? Not all military, not specific units, but specific unit type. There's not gonna be many, if any. You know, like you can talk, okay, Indians, they have Danish, but that's what I said, all military. I was talking about the specific unit type. I can't think of any right now, you know? Like, okay, we can talk like Egyptians with Tamarat Sandomaker, which is right here. that affects infantry and priest. That's one example, okay? But it's just movement speed, you know, like who cares? Who cared about that, you know? But like straight up buffing your military units, there's not going to be many, you know? It's going to be specifically all military units, advisors, but not like specific unit type. And that's so annoying, you know? Like that's like, no, you just put everything into specific unit. You cannot just get some buff for specific unit type, so you can like decide, do I want to go hoplites, do I want to go hypaspis? No. Do I want to go toxotest, or do I want to go gastraferes? No, you just need the specific unit. And now the advisors for specific units, super overbuffed. Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Who wouldn't want that? Okay, moving on. Alexander the Great. I need to make this shorter. I don't want to spend another hour here. Okay, Alexander the Great. The change is that Toxotes and Peltas deal 30% more damage instead of 30% attack rate. Otherwise, it's the same. So, as I was talking a few times before, basically, attack rate would be good in one situation, worse in other, but damage is good in the other, and then worse in the first one. So yeah, it's basically a change of the situations in which you get the overkill and when you don't get the overkill damage. So that's the whole change, but otherwise, yeah, it's basically the same thing. Moving on, Tavaret Sandalmaker, we are moving to Egyptians. So the new effect, infantry and priest units are 15% more resistant to pierce damage and move 15% faster. So extra 15% pierce armor. Now I'll be honest. For infantry units, zero reason. There was no reason to add it. Zero reason. You just pick Solback and your infantry units are just strong enough. Super strong, super fast produced. Who cares about the pierce armor? You can just easily replace them. For priest units, usually you don't want your priest units to take damage, so again, it's pointless. And you also have the Priestess of Ra that you can use to heal your units, so including your, let's say, Priest of Ta if they are converting units. So yeah, if you ask me, pointless. General Senep. Okay, new effect, siege units deal 20% more damage versus siege units deal 25% bonus damage against buildings. Let's just say, let's make catapults stronger. Because why not? We can do that, you know? We can, like catapults get easily 100 DPS, crush damage, free area splash. Let's just give them 20% more damage, you know? Like, who cares about the siege towers? You have elephants, you know? Who cares? No, Panitons don't really need the damage. So basically this is just catapults. So now it's about your preference. Do you want Tavaret for faster moving infantry? I prefer faster moving infantry because if I have the front line, yay, my catapults are safe. But at the same time, if you prefer the more damage on catapults, it's also an option. So you can do that. Catapults don't need extra damage, come on. 100 crush damage, like, that's so much. You don't need this, goddamn. Why? Why this change, you know? And even then, like, when you think about it, would you use this with your siege towers? You would not. You would just go Titans, because, as we know, 75% extra damage against buildings, which means a lot of the battering ram units, since they only attack buildings, that means 75% extra damage. Anyway, so yeah, no reason to pick this for your siege towers. And for Panitons, you don't need the damage. You don't need it. You don't need it. It's only for catapults, which are H4. So yeah, these advisors should be H4 now. It's just buff for catapults. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, set the chariot builder. So, new effect. Chariot archers move 20% faster, deal 35% more damage, and can attack and see 45% farther. So basically buff to the range and line of sight by 15%, and then also deal 35% more damage. I wanna yell. I wanna yell. I wanna scream. I wanna scream, shout, whatever, because goddamn, here we go again. Another maximum range, maximum damage output on the ranged unit. For fuck's sake, you cannot do anything else. You cannot do anything else. No, you just have to do the same fucking shit all over again. So fucking boring. It's terrible. It's terrible again. No, when I wanted to put extra pierce armor on the chariot archers, PF2K was like, no, we just buffed the camels, you know? Yeah, so what? You did. You have the Babylon chariot archers that have so many upgrades, including pierce armor, not to mention the changed champion upgrade. And they had lancers from the very beginning, still the same. But no, you are just going to call on camels, when lancers are still better than camels. But now, here you go, 35% more damage, 35% more maximum range. It's so stupid, goddamn. I'm so tired of seeing this same shit all over again. Uninspiring, boring, same stuff all over again. No, it's just terrible. It's just stupid. Like, you cannot do anything else again. Like, when you did the bowman, you know, the Babylonian bowman, that was a good change. I loved that. That was a good one. But no, most of the others, like chariots, like blade chariots, basically the same thing. This is the same thing as blade chariots. Sargon, basically the same thing. No, we just need to do the same thing all over again. So fucking tiring. I mean, at this point, like, I have to ask you, why not just make H4 advisor? That just gives, I don't know, like 30% damage, 30% attack rate, 30% maximum range for all ranged units. Make it H4, make it global. Because this is just stupid. You have like 3-4 advisors that do the same shit. It's fucking stupid, dude. Okay, Hatshepsut Stark's Sharpener. So, War Elephants deal 12% more damage from 10% and move 12% faster. So, as you remember, the War Elephants got their movement speed nerfed. This is the reason. So, the Hatshepsut is now buffing the Elephants, which is not completely the same, but close enough, and you get 2% more damage, which, I'll be honest, I just don't understand why this change happened as well. Like, you could have just buffed the damage and it could have stayed the same, you know? Whatever. Sesostris, okay. New Priest of Ta converts units 60% faster from 50%. And from 75% farther. Blah blah blah. Priest of Set, AoE conversion. Temples of Set and Ptah cost 75% less. The only good thing about this is the discount on the temples. That's the only thing I can appreciate, because goddamn, who's supposed to pay like, you know, 600 units of resources for these two? So if this happens, I'm completely fine, because goddamn, it went, you know, like if I consider just the base cost of the temples, the Temple of Set would go from, you know, 400 to 200 600 units, you know. Now it's just 300 units. Completely fine with that. And Ptah is obviously even worse. Although I would appreciate if you could build them faster as well in this case. But whatever, you know, whatever. This is fine. What I don't understand, why are we buffing the Priest of Ta again? Remember how they were converting like 75% faster or 70% faster? And how quickly you nerfed them to 50%? And this was like really good. This was really good. And you just buffing them? Why? Again, I have to ask, why? Going from 12 seconds conversion rate to 6 seconds with AoE conversion. This is just stupid, you know. This is stupid. Why? Who even thought about this? Priests of Ta were converting already super fast. And you could always pick the style for faster conversion of specific units. And now we are buffing them again? Why? It's so stupid. Like, the only good thing here is the discount. I can appreciate that. But these? Why in the first place? Okay, moving on. Capricorn Curator. This is completely new effect. So each town center increases all military units' health by 3%. Generates 5 gold per second. And 1 additional can be built. All military units cost, except Spearman, is converted to gold. So let me just tell you, this is Crassus 2.0 for Egyptians, okay? So you build your town centers, you can get a 5th one. What is it? 1 additional can be built. So you get the 5th one. Each generates 5 gold per second. So 25 gold in total. Which Crassus, I think, is like 30 gold per second right now with all the houses. I think it's something like that. Or is it? No, wait, it's 28. So it's even more. Right? Because 4 houses is 5 gold times 7. Yeah, it's 35 gold. So Crassus is a little bit better with gold generation. But here you have... So first of all, you have all military units cost is converted to gold. Which means whatever you produce... now cost the gold, exception being the spearman. So this would include the war elephants, elephant archers, siege units, axemen, slingers, chariots, camels, you know, all of these units. Who cares about the priest? They already cost the gold. And this is all military. This actually includes also the naval units. That's also needed. That's also important to remember. Huh. So basically 5 ships cost only gold. Oh my god, that's so stupid. That just seems so stupid. And the thing is, you can also increase the health. I thought there was damage as well. I guess I misremember. It's only health. So up to 15% extra health for all of your units. So if you ask me, I guess this can be really good for your, you know, naval units. So you just build the TCs, generate extra gold. And then you get a 3% extra health in comparison to the 20% damage. I mean, I would say that's pretty reasonable, you know. You also get extra population, so you can make larger army. All you need to do is just generate the gold. So you already generated, so just good amount of caravans, and you're completely set, you know. You can just train whatever you want. So yeah, as I said, naval units come to my mind. I think war elephants are still good. Although now I would say, okay, do you prefer the 15% extra health in total? But you get more elephants. Remember, you get extra 5 elephants thanks to the extra TC. So you can do that. Which means you get some extra damage or more options to do with the what to do with the elephants. You can go camels, which was like one of my options, and for the rest, usually you have something better than this, you know. But yeah, for elephants and namely the camels, I think this is your option. Navy is also reasonable enough, you know. I mean, you don't even need thought. You can just go like your typical style where you just produce enough villagers. So you can go like Agathon H1, produce your villagers. You can go Horus. You can go... I don't want to say Battleship now. But whatever, it's an option. So, I mean, you could go Pitas. Let's be honest. You could go Pitas and this and... Let's go, you know. It's an option. I'll be honest. I'm not really sure what to think about this. I feel like it's just, you know... I feel like I hate it just because it feels like Crassus 2.0. But at the same time, everything being converted to gold. I don't know, dude. Man, I'm not sure about this. We'll see this in action, you know. I want to see the camels especially. So we'll see. But yeah, let's move on. Goddamn. Time. Okay. Okay, Queen Cartimandua. So, new effect. Okay, Druids and Ogres train in 40% less time, have 40% more health, move 30% faster, and heal 30% farther. That's the old effect, so nothing new here. Sacred Groves cost 50% less and spawn a free Sacred Deer every 15 seconds. So basically, we combined two advisors together, which was the Divisiacus, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, Sacred Groves cost. Yes, so this effect was moved to Cartimandua, which, again, like I was reading just 4 stats before all this, and here we go, cost a free deer. Oh my god. This just feels like too many effects on one single advisor, you know. It's just too many. Why, you know? Why put it all together? I just don't get it. Again, why do we have advisors with so many effects? It's just so stupid to me. And that's just gonna be like the short description of this like advisor rework. Like, why so many stats on a single advisor? It's just stupid. Anyway, let's move on. Let's be honest. If you need to build a Sacred Groves, you use Cartimandua, whatever. I'll be honest. Even though I see so much stuff here, I still am not gonna pick Cartimandua. I'm not gonna do it, like, unless I do something silly like pure Druids or pure Ogres. There is no reason. I'm not gonna do that. Grand Magistrate of Divisiacus. So the new effect, gold mines are available in the Bronze Age, cost 75% less, and have 100% more conservation. Villagers gather gold 35% faster from gold mines. Okay, when I was reading this, you have to remember gold mines already have some conservation, and if I remember, it's like 50%. So that will give you like 4,500 gold on its own. But now you are also having 100% more conservation. So are you seriously telling me that the Celtic gold mines in H2, if you build a gold mine, which is very cheap, you know, gold mine costs 100 wood, so with this discount it's 25 wood. So are you seriously telling me I'm getting 9,000 gold from a single gold deposit? Are you serious? Are you serious? You know, like, when you tell me, like, the gold mine, you know, it's H3, it costs 100 wood, you get extra 1,500 gold from the gold mine. So it's like you trade 100 wood to get extra 1,500 gold. But with this, I trade 25 wood for 6,000 gold? That's so stupid, dude. That's just so stupid. And also, you gather gold faster, you know? You gather gold faster, 35%. Dude, just seriously remove the conservation. It's so pointless. You already got the cost discount. Remove the conservation for... Oh my god. It's just stupid. I'm gonna say it's stupid. All this together, it's stupid. There's no reason. There's no reason to have all of this. Crafty Ferrier Cavalrus. Okay, so the new effect, horsemen attack 20% faster, carpentons ignore 15% of the enemy's armor. The old one was horsemen and carpentons train in 30% less time. So, I'll be honest, I never like Cavalrus, like, okay, I see 30% less time, but who cares, you know? It's not something like, oh my god, I want that. No, I want Sohrab, so my carpentons destroy buildings faster. Or I can just go, you know, like, with horsemen, okay, you could probably do that, but at the same time, I could have movement speed, I could have infantry armor, you know? So now, yeah, horsemen have more attack rate, so that's okay, I guess, because they do attack quite slow. Carpentons having 15% ignore armor means basically you get Sohrab, but so much better. So you get 60% extra damage against buildings because of the ignore armor. And then every single unit that has pierce armor, you do more damage against them. And you have splash damage. Remember that. You have splash damage. I don't know about how about you, but I feel like this is just going to be super strong on Carpentoms. I might I might make a video about Carpentoms with this, like like there are definitely a few things I want to show off, like, and see how stupidly strong they actually can be. Just so you can see, Who knows? Okay. But yeah, 50% ignore armor, super strong, 20% attack rate, that's okay. That's okay, I'm not against it. Vercingetorix. All Celtic units deal 50% instead of 25%. More of their base bonus damage. Just so remember, if the unit has some base bonus damage, like for example Spearman against Cavalry, this bonus is being increased. If you include the bonus against buildings from the champion upgrade, this is not being included here. So just so you remember. And with that, I have to ask you, do we really need Spearman killing Cavalry even faster? Like the Celtic Spearman killing Cavalry faster. Do we really need that? I just don't see a reason. I feel like 25% was pretty reasonable, You could go like Spearman, Longswordsman, and like Slingers support. And maybe include like the Stone Throwers. And all of these like have bonus damages. And you could use them to do more damage against their specific targets. Spearman attacking cavalry, yes, more damage against them. Longswordsman attacking infantry, yes, more damage against them. Slingers attacking ranged units, more damage against them. Stone Throwers against buildings, more damage against them. That would be 25%. Now all of this is 50%. I don't know why did we increase it to 50%. If it was like 30, fine. But 50? No reason, dude. No reason. General Akikorios, new. Longswordsmen have 30% more health. This is the old one. And gain a 20% crit chance to deal a critical strike. So 20% crit chance. Hey, you want Gadget Rajas on Longswordsmen? It's possible now. You can do that. 20% extra crit chance. Your Longswordsman can do so much damage to infantry. Why not? You can do that. Your late game Longswordsman, go ahead. You can do that. Why not? Again, let's just overstart everything. Because why not just have 30% health and 20% more damage? Why didn't you make it like, like Brand, the old Brand, when it was like 30%, health crit chance? Why do we have two separate advisors that basically do the same thing, just to two different units? Why? Why in the first place? And even the values are pretty much the same. That's so stupid. That's so stupid. Why do we need like two separate advisors for that? It's so stupid at this moment. Warchief Commentorius. Okay, so the main difference here is, okay, Carpetoms can attack and see 40% of power. Again, maximum range line of sight. When you have Carpetoms that have huge pierce armor and pretty good health on top of it, no, you just need to give them more range, more line of sight, like they need it. I mean, okay, if it was like 10%, 15%, fine, but like 30%, no. It's just stupid. Again. Persians, Tahminech. Okay, new caravans carry 50% more gold instead of 30%, so that's more. Coinage price adjusting and royal roads upgrades are granted for free. So basically, you can actually, with the 50% more carry capacity, that means you can move the markets a little bit further to generate extra gold. That's basically it. So you can generate up to 50% more gold, which means you can go from 150 to 225. And since, as we know, the formula for the gold generation from caravans, you don't need to go too far. It can be just a small step. It could be like half a screen or one full screen. Who knows? I would say something between that. I think half a screen should be fine. Maybe even less, who knows? Just remember Shift plus Z to show, how much gold you're generating at the distance. Anyway, the more important part here is definitely the addition of Royal Roads upgrades to be granted for free. which, if you remember, Dominic, the moment you reach Silver Age, you get the coinage in price adjusting immediately upgraded for free. Now it includes the Royal Roads, which means, hey, 20% more movement speed for your caravan. So basically you save 600 resources and start generating 20% more gold right away, you know, which, you know, with the increased distance, hey, you know, like 20% movement speed helps a lot. So yeah, it's there, it exists. This is good change, but still, like, the only reason for me to pick Tahminech was like, hey, I need the gold. Or I just want a lot of gold. So like use Xeno plus this and it would be just fine. Now it's just, hey, I can go even further. And generate even more and get the movement speed upgrade for free. So yeah, I'm not sure if I like the change here, but okay, it's there, you know, like this is just 600 units of resources and 30 seconds of research time, yeah, whatever. Who cares about that, right? Okay, Blacksmith Kaveh, old. All military units ignore 10% of the enemy's armor. New, Bowman and Takabara ignore 10% of the enemy's armor. Sparabara are 50% more resistant against melee cavalry and bonus damage. Okay. I mean, the main reason you would pick Kaveh would be when you're using Bowman and Takabara. So yeah, basically there is no change, except now I lost the option to use it, for example, with Immortals. I cannot do this with Immortals anymore. So now, hey, I'm relying on Igno Armor Gear. Yay! That's so great. Less options. Who needs to think about it? You know, who needs to think about the builds? Let's just have this one only way to go. Because why not? Who wants to think? You know, AI is being on the rise. You know, JetGPT, Grok, whatever you want to use. People are just using it, not thinking for themselves anymore. Yay. Jesus fucking Christ, dude. Start using your heads, for fuck's sake. You know, like one of the good things about Age of Empires that I seriously liked was like I needed to think how to build my, you know, unit composition, because when I was like playing at first, you know, like what is it now, like 6 years ago, yeah, I was like, I seriously like, you know, Hoplites plus Gastaferes, and I need to think like how do I put it together, you know, like, so do I pick Sohrab H3 or do I pick Pamphilos? And what do I do in H4, you know? And I had to think about it. Now here I just have one simple answer. So if I want to go Sparabara ranged units, I do this. I don't need to think about it. No, I just have the answer right in front of me. Because why not, you know? Why not? It's so stupid. It's so dumb. It's so boring, you know, like when you have the answer right in front of you, it's so boring. That's no fun. I'm supposed to find the answer, not see the answer right away. Like, it's so stupid. Anyway, if you ask me, Moment Takabara, no change there. It's just mainly about the Sparabara being more resistant. The BDP definitely helps. I'm not sure. I feel like a lot of players just manage with pure Bowman, pure Takabara, but in some more challenging quests, having Sparabara at the front is definitely nice, and this just allows you, you know, like, Sparabaras usually would be weak against cavalry, so with this you can, hey, you don't need gear against cavalry, you can just focus on gear against infantry instead. Or more health, what do I know. So yeah, this one just, you know, like, frees the need. Like, again, like, if the Sparabara's weakness would be the cavalry, this just removes the weakness. And you can do whatever you want with the gear at that moment. It's silly to me, you know. Again. Guard's Hasp. Okay, Carafrax deal 20% more damage and cost 20% less instead of 10%. And here I wonder, why do we even have the buff for Carafrax? So, you know, like, they, like, okay, someone could say, like, hey, let's compare it to Hippie Guns. Yes, okay, Carafrax are anti-infantry, anti-siege. They have very high armor against infantry. They get extra damage from champion upgrade. They get extra pierce armor from champion upgrade. They are more focused against infantry. They are not hippicons. And I'll agree, they are free pop units, but do we really need like 25% more damage? Like, when you already do so much damage to infantry units? I feel like you are supposed to support them with mounted archers if you have problem with the cavalry units. So mounted archers, cataphracts, yeah, you will be just fine. If you want to destroy buildings faster, hey, you can go palintrons. You don't need that many palintrons. But no, this is just, hey, let's just go one single unit spam. I don't know, like, where is the old PF2K that was like, I would rather you use more units than just one single unit spam. No, you're just going to help with the single unit spam and assist it even more, like, through days and days. Like, where's the old PF? Because after these changes, you're never going to nerf them. You're never going to nerf them. I know you, because you are always scared to do anything. Because I know people have been threatening you. Like, I know you were telling us through Discord that people have been threatening you. But because you did this, now you're never gonna change it back. Never. And that's why it's so stupid. Yeah, whatever. Cataphracts are cheaper, they have more damage. Whatever, they are stronger. Overall, do whatever you like. But if you have a wonder build, all military units have 20% more health and move faster instead of move faster and train in less time. If you ask me, the only reason to pick Bahram would be Spearman right now. Like, okay, you can do something funny, like, you know, you could go like Navy, which ram ships with this, okay, you can do ram ships with this. You can go, you know, cataphracts. It's also possible. Instead of the damage discount, you get a health movement speed. That's also possible. But you need to build a wonder, which takes a time, so you have to wait for it. But other than that, yeah, I'm gonna say it, Spearman. You can do that. And again, like, health movement speed, Spearman. God damn, you got Minos health movement speed for Spearman. Oh my god, that's so stupid. Anyway, Esfandia, the change here is the... so one of the upgrades is 10 HP regen per second, 50% bonus damage protection instead of 25% health and 25% bonus damage protection. Maximum range and attack speed has been increased to 30% from 25%, and the melee upgrade is the same. So, first of all, why did we buff the ranged upgrade? Why? I swear, that was probably the best, and in my opinion, it was the best upgrade for the Immortals. And you were just buffing it again. Okay, and the other one, like 10 HP per second, 50% bonus damage protection. So basically, we reverted the previous change to from 50% BDP to 25% health, 25% BDP, and now we are reverting it back to 50% BDP and granting extra 10 HP per second, which works together, to be honest, because bonus damage protection is damage reduction, and so it will have multiplicative effect on the HP regen. So it works well together. Obviously, you can use 810s to heal your Immortals even faster. So that's possible. You can have easily, what is the 810? Is it like 10? So 20 HP per second, as long as you have like storehouses nearby. And if you have Zahak, hey, even more, like, yay, Immortals with 28 HP per second. How do you like that? You know, how do you like that? Now, let's be honest, this is okay, you know, like, it's mainly defensive and survivability for Immortals, and the damage output will be locked away from you, so, yeah, I guess it's okay choice, you know, like, this one is okay, but the ranged upgrade buff, there was no reason. Okay, Romans, supply line specialist Servilia. So the new one is Milariums also increase villages and caravans movement speed by 25%. Now, I'll be honest, this is the first good change advisor. God damn, it took forever to get here. We got through 4 saves to get here, to finally get something that is good. I would probably criticize the value, but at the same time, I know Xeno exists, and I know you need to build the Millenariums. So you have it only in certain areas, but whatever. This is finally something good, you know. I dislike Servilia being so weak because, like, who cares about it? If I wanted the movement speed, I could just go, you know, the Doomnorix and make the caravans cheaper. I could go Xeno and just save some, you know, distance, or if I never reach the full gold trading, you know, with Xeno I could have reached it. So, or get closer to it at least. So I would get the 30% gold income extra. So 15%? Yeah, 15% gold. Extra gold. Who cares? I can go Doomnorix, make the caravans cheaper, and just get it for free, you know? I don't even need to build the Millenariums. And who cares? Like, okay, I saved the wood. So I don't need that much food from the villagers. So yeah, this buff, I like it. This one is actually good. Gives you reason to build Millenariums, to support your caravan gold generation, can support your villagers with their wood gathering. This is good. I'm definitely one for this. This is definitely good change. I like it. This one makes a lot more sense. Like, it's not that useful for villagers, of course. You can just build those storehouses, but hey, you don't have to rebuild them now that often. So this is fine. But for the caravans, extra gold generation, hey, you can do that. But you still need to build the Millenariums. And it can be situational. But it's good, in my opinion. Senator Octavius. So this one has completely new effect. So forums cost 75% less, built in 75% less time, their upgrades cost 75% less, and research in 75% less time. Okay, but why? You know, like, the forum offers some really strong tech, especially, like, you know, SPQR. But when you tell me, hey, you should just build a forum right away, get the SPQR right away. Okay, but I lose thought, which would save me like 15% food on my villagers and every other unit. And 5% training time reduced. Well, with SPQR, sure, I get 10% on my villagers, but I lose it on caravans. I lose it on my military units. Like, I lose it everywhere else. I don't know, dude. I don't know. Like, this seems more like, hey, you want to do some weird strategy. Like, you pick this. You get the text there for dirty cheap, super fast. And then you also pick, like, Gladius the Glorious for cheaper food wood and focus the villagers on gold. Or not villagers, you know, you can just build like markets and just produce those. But yeah, like, hey, you don't need that much food or wood on your unit, so hey, you can save there. And I don't know, like, why is it 75%? That's what I have to question. If it was just 50%, that would be just fine. 75, it seems like overkill to me. It's weird to me, you know. But at the same time, you know, the auxiliary camp units cost and training time. I mean, that was basically Timon, but also buffing the Gallic Horseman. So yeah, I feel like this one kind of needed some change because goddamn, you did the same thing as one other advisor plus Ultron. You know what? It wouldn't be bad. It wouldn't be completely bad. I feel like if it was just better than some specific advisor, but for the specific save, I feel like that could be fine. You know, that why not? Why not just have, you know, like, this save gets a buffed version for this advisor? Why not? Why not have that? That could be just fine as well. Well, it does make, like, you know, this advisor redundant for that save. At the same time, hey, it is an option. Or maybe just change, like, you know, have this one stat same but the other one different. Like, why not? Okay, Lucius, Licinius, Lucullus, the triple L advisor. So new effect, Ekes attack 20% faster and have 20% more health. So the attack rate here is there. I'm not sure if I like it enough. For me, it's like, okay, Ekes, in my opinion, were just fine. You know, they were just good enough units. I just don't see a reason why, you know. But okay, it's there. I guess I'm not completely against it, but at the same time, I'm not super happy about it. So for me, this is like neutral, but who knows? Maybe Ekes will be super strong. What do I know? Gladius the Glorious. Okay, this one. All military units cost 40% less food and wood. Again, you designed this advisor, like the original design was discount 30% while increasing the gold cost. Where is the goddamn gold cost increase? If you had the gold cost increase, at least that would be fine. But this 40% discount? So I need 40% less farmers to produce my military units? Are you serious? This is just stupid, you know. Like 30% already was a lot. Now it's 40%? Why not just buff the village elder to 40% like frog poison wanted? Now you don't have a reason to be against it. When you buff like these discounts to 40%, why not just train villagers 40% faster? Why not? Why not do that now? It's so stupid. Okay, Vitruvius. So new effect, so the attack rate damage is there, and are able to snare enemy units on attack, slowing them by 35%. Okay, seriously, why are we granting Scorpios snare through advisor when they already get it through the champion upgrade? Why not just buff the champion upgrade at that moment? Now you just want to buff advisor for what reason? Why not just put it on the goddamn champion upgrade? Why are you putting it here through the advisor? It's so stupid. It seems silly to me, you know. Like, I don't see a reason. You're going to snare only the main target anyway, so who cares? Okay, Mark Antony. Gallic Horseman deal 20% more damage and train in 20% less time. I'll be honest, this one I'm okay with because of the change to the Senator Octavius. You know, the old effect being changed. So with this buff, I'm okay. You know, I'm not against it. Pompey the Great. Okay, all military units are 35% more resistant to bonus damage and deal 15% more damage. So both stats increased by 5%. BDP, I'm okay with. I have to question why extra damage, because I'll be honest, even with the 30% BDP and 10% damage, Pompey was completely fine. He was completely fine. I was using him just fine against Egyptians, and goddamn, Oranges doing 10% more damage, Legionaries having the BDP and 10% extra damage, when I did not really need the Igno armor, you know, like, you fight what? Axemen, Spearmen, okay, those have armor, who cares? They are not like the strongest infantry units in the game. You can kill them quite fast. And with Honor just dealing extra damage, hell yeah, that would be a lot easier. Against everything else, yeah, damage seems just more reasonable to me. I don't know, like, okay, but at the same time, I would just keep the damage same, and if the BDP goes up, whatever. It's just 5% BDP, that's not the worst, you know. Okay, Babylonians. Berusus the Wise. Ziggurats cost 75% less. Train Priest and Research upgrades 75% faster. So buff to the old effects. Advancing to Silver Age costs 75% less. So basically this advisor is all about, hey, let's rush Silver Age so you can train Priest. That's basically it. Just rush Silver Age, get the Priest. How about you instead move this advisor to H3? How about you move him to H3? Like, what is that? Wait, we have the Farzana for siege towers. Who's the other one? I don't remember. Who's the other one? Zopyrus is H4, or there's Makru, there is Zopyrus. Who am I missing? Who am I missing in H3? No, wait. No, Zopyrus is H3. I'll be honest, I would just move Berosus to H3 if I wanted to, but then at the same time, what am I supposed to put there, right? But hey, Zopyrus is H3, right? Because General Zoo is H4. You have Makru H4 for the shield bearers and the bowmen. Damn. Did I forget someone else? Yeah, there's supposed to be another one. Who am I missing? Who am I missing? I completely forgot. Whatever, maybe I'll remember. Alright, Gerda is H3. Oh yeah, why not switch it with Gerda, you know? You know, why not switch it with Gerda? Let's move Gerda H2, nerf her to like... Or you can make it like she grants 0.5 foot per second in H2 and another 0.5 foot per second in H3. And that way, like, hey, you could have her in H2, you know? Like, how about you just switch Berosus and Gerda? Why not? I don't know, this just seems like overkill, and goddamn, like, super fast, like, why? Like, this just seems like super heavy on priest, and I just don't like it. It seems super heavy, you know, and when you include like this, you have the gardens. You have the gardens. Why do you need the research? Like, why? Why? Like, you don't even need the cost, you know? You have the conservation on trees. You have the gardens to generate the food. You have gardens for the faster research time and production of priests. Why do you need that? Like, if it was just the Silver Age, I feel like that would be more interesting, you know? Like, Silver Age and cheaper ziggurats, I could understand that. I could understand that. Why do you need, like, the faster research? There's no reason for that. Whatever. It just seems silly to me. But yeah, if you're going for some super fast priests, this is an option. But at the same time, if you're starting Silver Age, this value is not there. So, whatever. Zopyrus. Governor Zopyrus. So sappers are 50% more resistant to pierce damage, 10% extra pierce armor, move 15% faster, 3 extra movement speed, and regenerate 4 health per second. I don't know how about you, but I feel like sappers are so super squishy. This is basically going to help only against buildings, which they already get the pierce armor against. So again, you just make them better against buildings. What? Why? What's the point? Okay, ranged units kill them slower. But still, like, they are going to die in like 2-3 shots anyway. I don't know. It just seems like buff them because I can buff them, you know? Like, I don't know. Like the HP regen, okay, I can understand the HP regen against buildings, so they become like, but you still have the goddamn siege towers. Why not just load them into the siege towers? Let the siege tower take the hits, and then unload the sappers, and just attack the building with the sappers. Why do you need the HP regen here? It just seems no reason for it, you know. It seems unreasonable to me. Like, it's basically, you are lazy to use siege towers. Give me the HP regen. Nebuchadnezzar. Okay, the main difference here is mounted archers get extra 3% attack rate, which, okay, if it's going to support more usage for mounted archers, fine. I'm not for it, but I'm not against it as well, so I'm kind of neutral here. Amethyst of Media, okay, this one, Siege towers have 50% more health, move 20% faster. This is the new effect. Deal 30% more damage, cost 1 less population, and deal 50% bonus damage against buildings. Let me just remind you, Titus, 35% more health, 35% more movement speed, and 75% more damage against buildings. Why does H3 Epic Advisor give more stats than Amethyst of Media? Where Amethyst of Media is on a single unit, while the Titus is for specific units, you know, like battering rams. It's not like unit type, but you know, like battering rams units. And he gives you so much. And like, combine these two. Like, I had no problem getting 1000 DPS with my siege towers with just Amethyst of Media. So now you're telling me I can get closer to 2000 DPS with siege towers when I also use Titus? Are you serious? Are you seriously allowing me to do that? Not to mention, you also just gave me 15% extra movement speed from Titus and 20% extra movement speed right there, multiplying the effect. Not to mention, Babylonians have the tag for extra movement speed. Are you seriously allowing me to have siege towers moving at what? Like, is this going to be like, I don't know, 6, maybe even closer to 7? I don't know. Like, I'm just guessing right now. But goddamn, you can have such high movement speed with super high damage against buildings as well on top of it. Let's just overstat that one super overstated unit already. It's so stupid again. It's just so stupid. I don't see reason for this. Again, there's no reason for any of these. Okay, finally Norse. We're getting closer to the end. So Axe Thrower Agwalt. So new effect, basically take the attack range line of sight at 15% crit chance and then move the advisor to H3. So that's the main difference here. So basically just give throwing axeman crit chance, move this advisor to H3. Now, I don't really like this because that means, hey, I cannot use Pamphilos in H3. So that means, hey, my spearman will do less damage when I decide to go, what's his name? Bjorn? Is it Bjorn? The H4 advisor for spears and axes? I guess so. So yeah, I lose Pamphilos with that. I get 15% crit chance for my throwing axeman for some reason. And then, okay, I can use something H2 for my other advisor. For example, I could probably use King Minos and get my spearman extra health and movement speed. Okay, that's possible. So it's slightly different, but still, I would prefer having some more damage against buildings. What do I know? Throwing axemen basically have been buffed like multiple times now. You know, like the champion upgrade is now much stronger. Now here goes the 15% crit chance. Now I can pick the Minos H2. Leonorios H1, let's go. Let's see what this combo can do. But still, I would prefer the old one. Because goddamn. Now, this is probably one combo I want to see in action. But still, like, it's going to be terrible economy for me. Like, goddamn, if I spearman advisor, throwing axeman advisor, throwing axeman and spearman, like, where's my economy, dude? I zero economy. Goddamn, it's going to be terrible for my economy. But yeah, this is probably one I need to try out to see if it's better or worse. But still, it's just, oh my god, we are overstunning throwing axemen on so many levels. I want to go back to the old axe of the piercing frost when I had the goddamn maximum range. That was more fun than this. That was more fun. You know, I could agree, like, maybe with some changes, but at the same time, like, I don't want to overstat everything. It just seems stupid to me. Okay, Bear Hunter Thorhild. The new effect: skirmishers and bowmen attack and see 30% farther and move 15% faster. Skirmishers deal 75% more damage. Additional note: move to H2 from H3. So Thorhild and Agwald got swapped. for their H slots, you know. So basically, by moving this advisor to H2, you basically are getting better Guyana for your Norse. That's the whole thing here with the attack range and line of sight. So you cannot combine it, but this opens up the option for H3 advisors. So you can go Sohrab for extra damage against buildings, which is possible, or I don't know, what else could it be there? Cosmos, I guess, for faster moving. Like, you get the movement speed here, so why not Cosmos now, right? And then we also get the skirmishers damage 75%. Like, here we go. Like, you remember old Biorix? Like, not the oldest one where it was like 30 gold per second. No, it was the second version of Biorix, which was skirmishers dealt over 100% more damage. Like, goddamn. And it's still, the unit itself was still terrible. I still remember how terrible it was. Like, you had to give it 100% damage, and it still wasn't enough. I loved it. Anyway, skirmishers, since they are mainly used against ranged units, I can see this as an opportunity to train some early skirmishers, not being completely terrible against like units in general, but still I would not completely rely on them. Still support them with like spears and throwing axemen, and then just, you know, switch to bowmen when I need to. But when I have the skirmishers, I can use them against the enemy ranged units, and since they have brutal damage against ranged units, with this 75% damage, that just means, hey, let's obliterate, I don't know, like Egyptian chariot, you know, like you get 3 skirmishers, you attack the chariot and it's dead. That just seems the only reason for this change, you know. After that, just go bowman. That's all I'm gonna say. This change basically means, hey, use skirmishers in H2. After that, switch to bowman. That's how I see this. Otherwise, I have no idea what this is supposed to be about. Anyway, Hardjar Commander Havard. So, new Hardjars are 50% more resistant to pierce, crush, and splash damage. So, this was increased by 15%. And construct buildings by 300% faster. So, yes. Remember, the Norse infantry builds at the half speed over basic villagers. So this means 0.5, increase this by 300%. So Hardjars build now twice as fast as a normal villager without gear. So yeah, I guess this opens up an opportunity for your Hardjars to build your forward bases instead of relying on villagers. And this probably could allow you to build, you know, like towers and maybe fortresses. Although I would say towers better. And I guess this opens up an option to go, you know, like build towers with your Hardjars along the way and use the towers as your backline instead of like, you know, log throwers. I want to see this in action, but at the same time, you know, like, I would just prefer buffing the Norse infantry units to build faster from, like, 0.5 to 0.7. I would go, like, 0.7, because I feel like, nobody really wants to use the Norse infantry, right? You don't want to use the Norse infantry to construct your military buildings, because it takes forever when you have the villager with the work tools. So, yeah, I would just buff the Norse infantry like by 40%, so going from 0.5 to 0.7, and then just, yeah, okay, you can have this, but nerf this to 200% or something like that, you know. Otherwise it just feels weird, you know, like. But yeah, 200% would be perfect, you know, like triple it would be like 2.1 times. That would be very close. That would make more sense. I would just buff the Norse infantry and then just give this 200%. This, otherwise, yeah, just overbuffing one unit again. But yeah, give some more value to the Norse infantry construction, because goddamn, who wants to do that when you have villager building so fast? Like, the only reason you want to use the Norse infantry to build your military buildings is just because they have the time. They have the time. Otherwise, you don't have the time. You need to use the villagers. Or a lot of infantry units, which, again, is not super efficient. So, yeah, I would just buff the Norse infantry and reduce this. Goddamn, this just seems too much. Okay, King Teod. So, new. Chief has 50% more health, deals 100% more damage, regenerates 30 health. So, these two are the buffs. And grants an additional 20% health, so 5% more, to nearby friendly units. Remember, this is actually adding. So, the basic buff is 20%. Before, it would be going up to 35%. Now, it's going up to 40%. So, basically, the buff is doubled with this. But I'll be honest. Who do you want to use this with? Like, okay, it's an option. But who do you want to use this with? Because if you take a look at all the advisors, most of the infantry units have something H4 that buffs their HP. And in general, it's just better for that unit specifically. The only exception being Harjar. But because Harjars are mainly frontline units, you want to buff their backline. So now it could be the towers, it could be the log throwers. Heck, even the bowmen now are an option, you know? And at that point I would be like, okay, how about I just go, you know, Agamemnon, you know? Just buff the damage of the bowmen and then buff the HP a little bit for the Harjas. Would be working just fine, you know? See, that's the thing, like, again, like, you buff this, but why would I do this, you know? Just like before, why would I do this when Theokolis exists? So with Harjas, it wouldn't make sense. And Raiders got better advisor, Horsemen got better advisor, Dogs got better advisor, like, goddamn. Who am I supposed to use this with, you know? It doesn't make sense. Okay, finally, Indians. Devi Maitrey. So, this one, again, why, you know, like... Turangas deal 75% more damage to cavalry units and have 30% more health and move 10% faster. So, why did we buff Turangas? Turangas were completely fine with this advisor before. Why are we buffing it? And again, I'm gonna say it, Turangas are goddamn strong units already. Whatever, buff to my Rast Stutter, whatever it's called. Light armor, hell yeah, I have more HP for those guys. Let's go. More damage to cavalry, yay, let's go. You just buffed my Turangas. For no reason, dude. I seriously did the Vaitarani River with my Turangas. And now you just made it easier for me. And this is not the only one, okay? We'll get to that. Okay, boom shakalaka, okay? So the new effect, monkeys have 200% more health and 20 additional of each can be trained. 6 additional shrines can be built. Notice, okay, so the monkeys part is the same. It's the shrines part that's different. So this means, hey, you can use this advisor with Param. And now you get only 6 shrines, which is completely fine. You can just build like, you know, 6 forward shrines. With the monkeys having so much health, this should be fine. But the thing is, with Param, hey, you're generating the gold. You don't need the caravans for the gold income. You don't need the caravans for the gold income anymore. So you can save population, train extra elephant archers, whatever you want to do. So yeah, you just buff this. Of course. The only thing that's the problem here is you don't get that many monkeys, which is completely fine. Because if you go just full HP club monkey, they'll get over 1000 health. So just having 6 shrines should be just fine, you know. So yeah, definitely have to take a look at this build again. Okay, and Chanakya, and this one is actually insane. Okay, so new effect: gurus can no longer convert, but gain the ability to heal at a 40% slower rate in a larger area in combat. So basically, this is the same, except now instead of just saying slower rate, now you have the value here, and now the new effect: all choose one upgrades are set to active and granted for free. This is goddamn OP on so many levels. So let me explain why. So we have the H2 choose one text. And remember, you can choose only one, the other one gets locked away. So with this, if you decide to go with the faster production of villagers, elephant gatherers, and caravans, you would lock the faster building construction. With this, you get the faster building construction, 15%. So yeah, now you have always the reason to go with this. And if you pick Chanakya, yes, you get the faster construction speed. H3, you have the cheaper tax, you have the movement speed, and you have the stronger defensive structures. Guess what? Now you can go the cheaper tax and get the upgrades for lower cost. Even because of this, you can save a lot of resources for your H4 and get the H4 sooner, thus getting all the upgrades. So you get the movement speed and defensive structures as well. And finally, because this is H4, that means you're getting all the H4 upgrades, which, if you know, those are super strong. First one, 15% Igno armor. Second one, 25% BDP. And third one, cheaper military production buildings, so barracks, archer ranges, stables, and Mahot camps, as well as faster production at those buildings. That's a lot of buffs. That's a lot of buffs you get from this advisor now. Because remember, you would get only one of those in each age. But now you're getting everything. So you can go with something that helps you early. For example, the faster villager production and the cheaper tax. And then when you get the golden age, you get everything else. And then also all the H4. So that's a lot of resources saved with a lot of powerful buffs for your units, buildings, whatever. This is very strong, you know. And also you get it with the gurus. So you can use the gurus' healing ability in combat with this. And this is also very important, remember. Because now, think about it. When do you want to use Chanakya? And I was thinking, this advisor, because of this change, this made basically Ashoka, the other legendary advisor, completely redundant. Because why would I go with Ashoka when I can go Chanakya, get my Juggernauts upgraded with Igno armor, with bonus damage protection, with faster production, and also the ability to heal them in combat. That's so insane, you know? And it's not only like Juggernauts, you can do it with anything else. But Juggernauts are like the first ones that come to my mind that make perfect sense with this. The other unit, Turangas. So remember the buff in H3? Devi Maitrey, you can see it right there. You can see it right there. So now you're getting also the BDP, which is good for cavalry units. And also Igno armor, which might not be that good for cavalry units, but hey, who knows? Maybe you'll find some tougher cavalry units that have some cavalry armor. So the Igno armor can help you there. Also helps you fight with spearmen. And also, hey, you can super fast produce those Turangas now. The others can depend, you know. The others can depend. But let's say, hey, you can go Gana warriors with the faster production, faster the BDP and the Igno armor. You know, suddenly, hey, you have 40% Igno armor. What about the spearmen? Same thing, you know. So you have like suddenly another strong alternative to Danesh, you know, like that. I was saying Danesh is super strong, but at the same time, not always you can use the splash damage armor. So instead of just having 15% health, now I can pick Chanakya and get super buffs for all of my units. So whatever I do, my units will get buffed. And it's so strong. So hell yeah, let's make Indians even more broken. Why not? All you need is just, yeah, let's do this. Anyway, that was the last advisor. And goddamn, so you heard me to talk about this. Why I think it's just too many stats on a single advisor. You know, you take one advisor, it's like so high numbers, so many stats. I hate it, you know, like why can't we have, like, you know, multiple advisors? Like, one is like, hey, this specific unit gets this. The other one could be, hey, this specific unit gets this. And then you could have like, hey, this unit type gets this, you know. I don't know, man. It's just stupid to me. It's just stupid to me. And with the legendary quest becoming like easier, the more powerful gear being unlocked, and then now getting these super strong advisors. And remember, there were units that did not need any extra buff. They were already doing really good job on their own. They did not need another buff. They were already really good. And they got it. For no reason, in my opinion. There was no reason. Anyway, you heard me. And this seriously, like, made me angry, you know? Like, I don't know. Like, definitely, I'll try to make some videos using these advisors now. That, at least the more interesting ones. And just show you, like, how stupidly strong they can be. Suddenly. So there are definitely few. But at the same time, I just feel like I don't want to play with advisors anymore. Because of how stupidly strong they are, you know. It just seems so stupid to me. You know, I kind of want to do, like, someone was making, like, you know, the green gear builds and just playing, you know, like Valley of Kings and stuff like that. And I was like, man, I kind of wish, you know, I could just pick, you know, like, at this moment, I would just go green advisors, because I feel like these advisors are so strong that I would just pick the green one, maybe even white one, and be like, yes, I don't need more. I don't need more. And even the gear, I feel like, man, I want to just go blue one now. And then maybe even green one. Who knows? But goddamn. Yeah, I'll put the links for the blog and the patch notes in the description below, so you can check them out for yourself. Anyway, tell me what do you think about these advisor changes, because I bet, you know, because I saw the comments on Discord that everyone's like, yeah, these are good, yeah, these are good. No, they are terrible. It's just terrible. They are terrible, they are stupid, and worst of all, it's just, you create like one path for each unit, you know, like, I want to go hit pickens. What is there for me? Solon. Before I had Solon and Apollonius. Now I have Solon, you know. It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Anyway, tell me what do you think. And if you enjoy this, please press the like button. If you want to see more videos like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. But who knows, mate? I don't know. I just don't feel like continuing with Age of Empires Online anymore, because, like, I see these changes and, like, I see them and I already know it's going to be really strong, because it's just buffs, you know, it's just buffs. So it's not like, I'm just not in the mood anymore. It's terrible. Maybe I should stop. Maybe I should stop and just go play some other games, you know. Stormgate is there. Maybe I should just try some PvP there. Who knows? Maybe I'll find, you know what? I'm just gonna start recording some other games finally. I need to get back to Momodora. Goddamn, I need to finish that game. Goddamn, I few months back I finished goddamn the previous game in the series and completed the achievements so maybe I'll just go back to Momodora. You know what? Like, let's take a break from Age of Empires Online. Maybe that's what I should do. Just take a break, because goddamn, I cannot look at this. Maybe just come up with rework of advisors myself. Who knows? Maybe I'll take some time and start thinking about it a little bit. But at the same time, there are so many things I want to do in my life. God damn it, there's never enough time. Which I believe a lot of you know about it, because probably have the same thing. Anyway, whatever. Thanks for watching. This was Psychosaurus, and I'll see you next time. And who knows where. Bye.